Marvel Team Up issue number 3 and 4, the story arc that features for the second time Dr. Morbius, the living vampire. Oh yeah. So let's get into it. The story. Let's get into everything. Marvel, this is their first horror character since the comic book code authority lifted the ban in the early 70s. And then they're like, alright, time to do a vampire one. And he debuted in Spider-Man issue number 101 and 102. And in that issue, along with the Lizard, Spider-Man runs into him and they take him down. And he ends up needing part of his blood sample to cure his own ailment. And Morbius, at first he was one of those anti-heroes, kind of like the Man-Bat from... It's the same story as the Man-Bat almost, where it's a scientific experiment gone wrong, turns him into a bat, except for he gets bat-like symptoms and superpowers like flight and thirst for blood, or else he'll die. It's pretty hardcore. Now let's get into the storyline. So the first 2 issues of Marvel Team Up, they always teamed up Spider-Man with someone, usually because he was always easy to sell. They were whoring out Spider-Man hardcore at this time, just like DC was whoring out Superman and whoring out Batman. So anyway, the first 4 issues, or 3 issues in Marvel Team Up, is Spider-Man teaming up with the Human Torch for some reason. So they just kept on going along with it. They just figured that they were 2 teenagers and it was easy to do dialogue with them or whatnot. So anyway, at the end of issue Amazing Spider-Man number 102, where Morbius left off, is he was flying and he runs into an overpass and ends up drowning in the river, and Spider-Man assumes he's dead and gets the vial of blood and cures himself from like the 6-arm syndrome. And then he washes up ashore and Morbius ends up biting the first guy he sees, which is this guy. He turns this afro-wearing guy, totally 70s out, into his henchman for the comic book issue. And then Morbius's wife, like, it was a tragic tale. Like, he doesn't want to be a vampire. He's trying to get back normal. But he kind of loses his sanity in the darkness and the evil of being a vampire, you know? So that's kind of like the fiddle that they play. And then so he kind of slowly, by this time he's kind of slowly losing it. And becoming pure evil. Pure villain type. And the Human Torch and Spider-Man end up going to his former professor and end up having tea time, and they end up battling Morbius at Empire State University out on the lawn. And Morbius finally gets his feast on and he gains some superpowers. And he ends up bolting there, and Spider-Man's going through his own ailment again. And he starts... Basically, the blood transfusion that he got from him is poisoning him and giving him a bad reaction. And by this time, we finally get another team up. This is the first team up with someone other than the Human Torch. We get it with the X-Men in civilian clothing. And you get this scene in there. And Morbius ends up kidnapping the Professor Jurgensen. And right at the same time that Spider-Man's going there, so like usual, he gets framed in the papers, and Charles Xavier believes the papers and sends the X-Men out to capture Spider-Man. They duel, you know, Angel and Iceman end up dueling them, as you can see in the cover. It lives up to the hype. Decent little few frame match between them, and then he explains to him that Morbius is the villain, or Xavier is able to peek inside his mind. And then Spider-Man isn't even in the issue. He's passed out. He's succumbed to the venom in him, and he's starting to lose it. And the X-Men end up chasing down Morbius, and put your bets on who takes out Morbius. Which one of the X-Men takes out Morbius? It's Cyclops. with a blast, and they don't even show him actually blasting him. He blasts like the window frame behind him. They're like, oh, well, we got Morbius. And that pretty much sums it up. It really wasn't that great of a story. They just kind of encounter each other, and then he needs a serum. Just kind of a typical story. Morbius was created by Roy Thomas, who stole the name directly from the villain from Forbidden Planet, which is a famous 50s sci-fi movie. I'm sure everyone knows that by now. But anyway, this was my review on Marvel Team Up issue number 3 and 4, Morbius' second appearance in the Marvel Universe, which led on to characters Werewolf by Night and Dracula. He came all before them. They put everything aside to do Morbius first. So anyway, click on the channel for more comic book reviews, and thanks for watching. I'm out.